Some luxury cars feel calm in their importance. They do not need confirmation. They do not need reaction. Others feel different. They feel restless, as if silence threatens their relevance. This video is not about Mansory itself. It is about behavior. About cars that feel more Mansory than necessary. Not because of money, not because of power, but because of who they are trying to impress. These builds reveal confidence, or the lack of it. They expose whether luxury is self-assured or socially performative. Today we are ranking cars that feel more Mansory than necessary. Let's begin. 10. Mercedes-Benz G-Class by Brabus. We start at number 10. The standard Mercedes-Benz G-Class represents inherited authority. It is upright, unapologetic, and socially dominant without explanation, in stock form. The G-Class does not negotiate for respect, it assumes it. The Brabus modification changes that psychological posture. Additional aggression appears, louder finishes, heavier detailing, and visual signals stacked to provoke reaction. None of this is poorly executed, but the intent feels exposed. This G-Class no longer feels relaxed in its status. It feels alert, almost defensive. Supporters interpret this as confidence. They see power, they see presence, but socially, the message becomes strained. This build feels like it is checking the room, scanning for acknowledgement, ensuring it is still being seen. The car stops embodying dominance and starts performing it. That distinction matters. Luxury that is secure does not need to raise its voice. This build does. That is why it earns number 10. The Mansory-like energy here does not come from boldness. It comes from subtle insecurity, a legendary symbol of authority that suddenly feels uncomfortable being ignored. 9. Lamborghini Urus by 1016 Industries. At number 9, execution improves, but psychological tension remains. The Lamborghini Urus already exists as a social signal. It is aggressive by default, modern, and impossible to mistake, in stock form. The Urus does not require explanation. Its presence already announces itself. The 1016 Industries widebody pushes that presence further. More width, sharper edges, constant visual reminders that this car wants attention. For some, this amplification feels appropriate. For others, it feels excessive in motivation. This Urus behaves like it is permanently on stage, as if being watched is part of its function. There is no sense of private ownership here, no feeling of quiet confidence. Psychologically, the build feels performative. It wants reaction, not recognition. The Urus does not lack dominance. Yet this build suggests it needs reinforcement. That contradiction defines its placement. It earns number 9 because while the execution is strong, the intent feels external. This car is not comfortable disappearing into traffic. It needs eyes, and that need creates the Mansory feeling. 8. Rolls-Royce Cullinan by Spofec. At number 8, the excess becomes more refined. The Rolls-Royce Cullinan represents effortless authority. It does not chase relevance. It exists above it. In stock form, the Cullinan feels calm, detached, unbothered by opinion. The Spofec customization respects the platform, but alters its psychology. Visual contrast increases, presence sharpens, and individuality becomes more pronounced. Craftsmanship remains excellent, but the social posture shifts. This Cullinan no longer feels indifferent to interpretation. It feels aware of it. It wants to be recognized, not just respected. Supporters admire the controlled dominance. They see tasteful personalization. Critics sense a loss of serenity. The excess here is not visual chaos. It is awareness. The car begins listening to the room, adjusting itself accordingly. That awareness introduces tension. It earns number 8. Because the Mansory feeling here is subtle, but undeniable. A Rolls-Royce that has started caring. How it is perceived, rather than simply existing. 7. Bentley Continental GT by Mansory. Number 7 marks a turning point. The Bentley Continental GT already balances luxury and performance. It is expressive, but disciplined. Mansory amplifies that expression. Sharper accents, carbon detailing. A more assertive stance, psychologically. This build feels intentional. The car does not beg for attention. It expects it. There is awareness, but not insecurity. This Bentley understands its audience, but does not chase approval. That difference elevates it. Critics may question restraint, but the confidence is difficult to deny. The excess feels chosen, not compensatory. This build enjoys being seen, but does not depend on it. That balance earns it number 7. The Mansory energy here feels controlled. A statement of taste, rather than a demand for a validation. 6. Ferrari 812 Superfast by Novitec. At number 6, confidence fully settles. The Ferrari 812 Superfast already commands admiration. It does not need explanation. It simply exists. Novitec's modifications sharpen presence. Without altering psychology, the car feels comfortable being judged. Because it is not asking permission. Excess here feels deliberate, not reactive. Socially, this Ferrari communicates self-definition, not validation seeking. It does not scan the audience. It assumes relevance. That assumption changes everything. This is where Mansory-like presence becomes choice, rather than compensation. It earns number 6 as the exact midpoint, where excess stops explaining itself and starts standing confidently on its own. 5. Porsche 911 Turbo S by TechArt. At number 5, perception finally begins to shift. The Porsche 911 Turbo S represents quiet certainty. It is a car respected without explanation, trusted without needing to announce itself. In stock form, the Turbo S feels comfortable being overlooked. Because its reputation already carries weight. TechArt's modifications introduce visual assertiveness, but they do so with discipline, not panic. The stance becomes wider, the aero sharper, yet the identity remains intact. Psychologically, this build does not feel anxious. It feels selective. This is not a car speaking to everyone. It is speaking to people who already understand what they are looking at. That distinction matters. The excess here does not chase strangers. It communicates within a closed circle. Drivers, enthusiasts, observers who recognize nuance. Critics soften their stance at this level because the car still feels private. Even when it becomes more expressive, it does not beg to be photographed. It does not perform for public approval. Instead, it refines how it is perceived, not how loudly it is seen. That confidence earns it number 5. This is the point where excess starts to feel justified, because it reflects self-assurance, not social pressure, not insecurity. 4. Rolls-Royce Ghost by Mansory. Number 4 represents controlled authority. The Rolls-Royce Ghost is built on calm dominance. It does not announce power, it assumes it. In its original form, the Ghost feels indifferent to attention. It is designed to be respected without reaction. Mansory's treatment introduces visual gravity, but it does not disturb posture. The car remains composed, measured, unrushed. Psychologically, this build feels aware of its influence, but not dependent on it. It does not seek validation. It reinforces hierarchy. The Ghost does not raise its voice. It deepens its presence. Critics may still question necessity, but resistance weakens, because the car does not behave like it needs approval. The excess feels declarative, not reactive. This build does not ask to be admired. It allows admiration to happen. That is the key difference. It earns number 4. Because attention here is commanded, not chased. A build that understands power and refuses to rush it. 3. Lamborghini Aventador by Mansory. At number 3. Excess becomes identity. The Aventador already exists as spectacle. Drama is not added. It is native. Mansory does not fight this character. It completes it. The build feels unified. Every modification aligns with the same message. Psychologically, this car does not seek acceptance. It expects judgment, and that expectation changes perception. The Aventador does not explain itself, it declares. Even skeptics hesitate, because coherence is difficult to dismiss. This build accepts polarization, without reacting to it. That acceptance is confidence. The excess feels honest, because the foundation can support it. This is not a car asking to be liked. It is a car prepared to be discussed. That posture earns it number 3. A build that understands exactly who it is for, and does not attempt to soften itself for anyone else. 2. Mercedes Maybach S-Class by Mansory. Number 2 approaches inevitability. The Maybach S-Class represents elite composure, silence, control, authority. In stock form, it does not chase recognition. It exists above reaction. Mansory's intervention introduces presence, but preserves dignity. This build feels designed for people who are already seen, already acknowledged. Psychologically, it does not seek validation. It reinforces position. The excess feels elevated, not loud, not insecure. So why is it not number 1? Because some of the impact still depends on modification. Rather than identity alone, the presence is strengthened, but not entirely inevitable, nearly flawless, but not absolute. That distinction places it at number 2, a build that understands confidence, but still leans on enhancement to express it. 1. Our Rolls-Royce Phantom by Mansory. At number 1, Everything Alliance. The Rolls-Royce Phantom represents unshakable certainty. It does not compete, it presides. In stock form, the Phantom does not acknowledge rivals. It exists in its own category. Mansory's modifications do not alter that psychology. They sharpen it. Every addition reinforces authority, not attention-seeking. This build feels inevitable, as if it was always meant to exist this way. Psychologically, this car does not ask to be admired. It expects evaluation, and it accepts judgment calmly. The excess feels earned, because the foundation is immovable. This Phantom does not perform. It declares. It does not explain itself. It does not justify itself. That is why it stands alone, the benchmark. 4 cars that feel more Mansory than necessary, yet somehow make that excess feel completely justified. Looking back at this ranking, one truth becomes clear. Excess itself is not the problem, intent is. Some cars chase reaction. Others define presence. These builds reveal psychology. Not money, not engineering. They show who the car is trying to impress, and whether it feels secure doing so. Confidence does not need noise, but it can afford it. When excess is chosen, rather than demanded, the difference becomes unmistakable. None of these cars were built to disappear, and in modern luxury, that refusal may be the most honest statement of all.